Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. My name is Scaletta, a first year doc student, and today's video is going to be about how I got into my PsyD program. And for those of y'all that are new here, welcome, and if you found this video helpful, then please subscribe and hit that like button so that way we can grow our community and just support one another. So I just want to put a disclaimer out there and just let y'all know that this is my own personal journey of how I got into my program. And I believe that there's many different ways that someone can take in order for you to get into your own PsyD program or PhD program. But this was just my way and how I did it. So starting off with high school, to be honest, I don't really remember high school all that well. My first 2 years were just kind of spent messing around and skipping classes. It wasn't really until my last year that I actually took it more seriously and started kind of considering what I really wanted to do in the future. And at the time it wasn't psychology. The only thing I can see myself doing really was art. So I love to paint and draw. And even to this day, I still like to paint and draw. But I wasn't really good at math, science, history. I have dyslexia, so I wasn't good at reading or writing. So all I really was doing at the time was just painting and drawing. But, you know, I took the SAT scores. I didn't do well. I think I took it twice. Both times I didn't really care for it that much. I didn't even think I was going to go to college. And I didn't really see myself going down the education path. And to be honest, I don't think high school really matters that much as long as you have an okay GPA. I think I graduated with like a 2.5 or something like that, or a 2.4. So right after high school, my parents and I would go back and forth on what I was going to do for my future. And all I wanted to do was just be an artist. And they would always tell me, how are you going to support yourself? How are you going to put food in your mouth? Or you're just gonna end up under a bridge. And I think most of the time it was them just being afraid of where their kid's gonna end up. And I get it, most parents want to see their kid be successful and be well off. So we ended up kind of coming to an agreement that I'll go to college only if I get my BFA. So I started applying to different universities, got rejected to my first two, and finally got accepted to my third one, which was UIW. And it was at UIW where I declared my major as a BFA, or Bachelor of Fine Arts. And at UIW, I just mainly focused on my art credits. And it wasn't until I had to take a social science where I found myself in Psych 101, which I fell in love with right away. And after that, I basically took psych class after psych class and found myself minoring in psych. I found myself loving psychology so much that I ended up double majoring in both fine art and psychology. And I believe that double majoring in both art and psychology is what played a key role in getting me accepted into the master's program and then later on in the PsyD program. And I know that programs, especially the PsyD program that I was accepted into, like that I came from two different backgrounds, the art background and psychology background. So once I graduated with the bachelor's at UIW with a GPA of a 3.4, I started to look at graduate programs around San Antonio and came across Our Lady of the Lake University. And there, I spent 2 years studying marriage and family therapy and graduated with a 3.94 GPA. And now it was time for me to decide if I wanted to continue my education and pursue my PsyD. And it just so happened that OLU offered a PsyD program that I was already interested in. So because I was coming from their master's program already and knew what their program and most of the professors were like, I already kind of had an idea of what I was going to get myself into applying for the PsyD program. And so once I finally decided to make that leap and apply for the PsyD program, I had to start putting together my application. And the first part was to take the GRE test. So the first part of that is taking the GRE test. So for our program, you have to take both the general GRE and then the psychology GRE. And so for my general GRE scores, I had a 145 for my verbal, a 139 score for my quantitative, and then a 2.0 for my analytical writing. They weren't that great of scores, but I only took it once and decided if I get in, I get in. And for my psychology GRE score, I had a 460. Now it depends on what your program is looking for. I know some programs don't really care for a GRE score and sometimes they just completely omit it altogether. Whereas mine, they just said that any type of satisfactory score would be fine. So I don't really know what the cutoff score was. So I just took both of the tests and then just kind of hope for the best. So I'll just make sure to ask the program that you're applying for what they're kind of looking for in regards to the GRE. So as far as extracurriculars, I didn't really do any research in my master's program. However, if there's any additional activities that I could be a part of within my program, I was always trying to do them. Just mainly because I was trying to, make friends, make connections with other people, other students. And not only make connections with other students, but you're also building that relationship with professors and supervisors so that way when the time comes for them to write you a letter of recommendation, they know a little bit more about who you are and what you're about. And it kind of makes it easier for them to personalize your letter when you ask them later on in the future, or if you do ask them later in the future to write your letter of recommendation. For my clinical experience, I worked at Roy Moss providing therapy for children and adolescents. I also did a practicum at a community counseling center where I worked with a variety of different clients with a variety of different types of issues. And I also had to write a personal statement. And I think my personal statement was pretty strong. And I think there's a lot that goes into a personal statement. So I might make a video later on kind of describing, what goes into it, how to get your strengths across. And I think that goes for the interview process too. I think that might be its own separate video just because there's so much that goes into the interview process and so much that you have to kind of prepare for. And then obviously it kind of varies depending on your program. They might ask completely different questions. But I think there's certain things that you can do to best prepare yourself before you kind of arrive for your interview day. And I think the way you present yourself is also important, but like I said, I might go more into that in a later video. And now before I wrap this video up, I just want to kind of reiterate that, this was my own personal journey and kind of the steps that I took for me to apply for my PsyD program. But like I said, it's going to be different from program to program. And hopefully you learned something from this video that you might later reference if you decide to apply for a PsyD program. And just a reminder, if you have, none of these things going for you right now or haven't started on any of these steps, just know that it's going to be okay. It takes time, and like I said at the beginning of this video, there are many different paths that someone can take in order for you to get accepted into your own PsyD program. So if you don't have the greatest GPA or you don't have your letters of recommendation yet, it will be okay. And I'm sure you have many other strengths that you can draw upon for your application. And with all that being said, thank you for watching today's video. And until next time, be kind to yourself, you owe it to yourself, and have a beautiful day. Bye.